this is the age where you find what you love and identify your passions, and you start asking yourself, what is it that really drives you forward, that you really enjoy. And reading, writing, if it is something that you enjoy and that makes you happy, then now is the best time to start doing a little bit of it every day. And writing is something that you develop over the skills you develop over time. So now is the best age for all of you to be trying out and trying a little bit at a time. And I hope that I really do hope that asking me questions, talking to me, hearing about my experience will help you do those things, trying those sources of finding those sources of happiness for yourselves. So I have over the past 7 or 8 years, I have written a lot of books, and of them I wanted to just show you one of the this is my middle grade book for something that your age, children of your age will might like. And it's about, my protagonist is a 13-year-old, almost around your age. And it is, as Anuja mentioned, it is very much, this is the first book I started with. And I started writing this when I was working as an engineer full-time. And I wrote this, and it reflects a lot of my engineering background and my love for science. A lot of things in there I thought might interest young children, and they might find it helpful to be placed in imaginative settings and see how science, not in a very exact, perfect scientific way, but in an imaginative way, how science can interact, or science can be evolve in a different setting, in a different planet, say. So this is one of the books that is very dear to me because I started with it, and also it's the protagonist. She is, she's so young and she's finding herself in the world. So it is even more. She's almost like my child. So it is extra special to me to write about Maya. So the book is about Maya. She starts out at 13, and at the end of the book series, and I'm writing them, one of them fifth book will come out hopefully this year, and the sixth and the final one maybe next year. By the end of the sixth book, she will be around 16 or 17. So so that's the journey I wanted to take everybody on. And a quick look at, I will read a little bit to bring you to the world that she goes to. She goes to a planet that's away from them, and this is a strange new planet. And in that planet, everybody, they don't live on the surface; they live inside the planet, because this this planet is also, this planet travels. This planet doesn't stay in one place. They have made this planet in such a way that they can move from one place to another, and they have very advanced technology that can make that possible. And this is the first time Maya goes from her own planet to this new place. And her own planet is very much like ours. It's like Earth, and we have technology, but it's not that much. And it's a very disbelieving sort of a situation to her, that they can actually get inside a planet, and that's where they are living. People are living, and she's invited there, and she discovers this place. So I'll I'll keep it very short and I'll make it very quick before we go on to your questions and asking you what you think about it and what you think about writing by itself and reading and any questions that you might have. So quickly. The dimming of the lights outside brought an end to the discussion. The farbot is the spaceship that they're traveling in. The farbot had entered a darkened tunnel similar to the one in which they had started. This, Maya figured, was the end of the long passageway through the crust of Zif. She sat up in anticipation. The farbot had emerged from a hole in the sky that now closed shut behind them. Maya knew she was deep inside Zif, but looking around, there was very little to remind her of that. A cheerful blue sky hung above them, at the center of which was a brilliant white star. At the edges of the Zifarian world, the horizons touched the ground. Beneath them lay a concentration of buildings that Maya never imagined possible. A sea of structures rose in peaks and spires, domes and towers, packed closely together and forming a never-ending patchwork of metal and stone. Shimmering webs of ribbon-like roads soared and snaked around the unending maze of buildings, and here and there, in the vast collage of gray and dull blue, lay lively patches of green. The farbot wove down through a tangle of roadways, gradually sinking lower, until it landed on a large field in front of a clustered mesh of round white buildings that looked like a group of freshly sprouted mushrooms. So this is where she comes in, and she discovers, so she's being taken to a place where they are going to evaluate her skills. And if she is good enough, she is going to be given opportunities that she had never dreamed of. She comes from, as I said, a planet where technology is not as advanced. And those mushroom buildings are hopefully going to give her some challenges, and which she will hopefully be able to overcome with, and she will get a view of a future that she has always dreamed of. So this is one of the books that as I said, very dear to me, and it has taken a long time from dreaming of the book and to finally writing it. Yes, I mean, don't give up on your dreams. If you want to write something, write it, and then you will get there eventually if you keep at it. So I will not take any more of your time talking about myself, and I will, ask me anything, what you want to know, anything you want to know about writing, the writing process. Go ahead.
Children, if you want to, yes, someone actually have already raised hand. Adrija was the first to raise hand. Adrija, you wanted to ask something?
Ma'am, what more stories you have written? Ma'am, you are muted.
What more stories? Yes. I have written. So I have written. This is one, the middle grade fiction. Then I have written a lot of. I have written fantasy stories as well. That is supernatural, and some time traveling stories. Some stories where you have special powers, and all of them are in different worlds, different universes, as we like to call them. So this is in one universe. Maya story is one universe, and there are other stories which are in different planets. Some of them are on Earth, but it is a different settings. In the time traveling stories, for example, I have Earth, and I have something strange that has happened to Earth, and in that scenario, some of the people have been given this power to time travel, and that series is about that. Quite a few of them, and if you want me to speak about anything in particular, then I will go deeper into it.
Ma'am, have you written any poems?
Poems, I am not very good at poems, sorry, but I have written one or two verses inside the books itself. But I am sadly, I don't, I have no talent for writing poems. I have tried, but I keep myself to those verses, 5 or 6 lines at the most. Do you write poems?
No, ma'am. I'm trying to.
Very good, very good. Poems are hard to write. As as I said, I have tried a lot, and poems are it needs a natural talent. And I'm so glad to hear that you like it and you're trying. Trying is very important, and that's great.
Yeah, I think whoever has a science and engineering background, and particularly the science technology background, somehow like they also find it a little bit difficult to write poems. I don't know why it is a coincidence or not. It can be storytelling, fiction, imagination, imaginary ideas. Those things come maybe a little bit more natural into those people. And people who love, I'm not saying that people who love science they cannot love arts, but some people have the more has more natural tendency to kind of go wild with the imagination for arts actually. And they are very good at writing poems. That is, I don't know whether it's my bias, but I have seen there is a little bit correlation between these things. But yeah.
I, you might be you have a very good point, and you might have just hit the nail on its head. I also think that writing poems probably needs a little bit more training than self-trained writing that can be more self-developed. Uh, it that is why I think writing poems might help if you develop a habit even more than writing. So think about poems in a way that you have to have the rhythm, you have to have the thoughts captured in just those few words. So it's harder.
Yes, it's very hard. Poems are
Yes.
very hard. That's true.
Yes.
So the children are always raising hands. They really are. So Dimir, after this, you are just raising hands like this. Okay. What question you have, please? Unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself and ask? Yes, thank you.
Ma'am, I always have a struggle in finding out names because I always try to find out names which mean of this character's personality. For example, if I'm trying to say that the character loves the night sky, I would try to give a name which means night or stars or something like that. So I have a lot of trouble finding names like that.
I think it is excellent that you are thinking so deeply when you name your characters. That at your age, I wouldn't have at your age thought of so much. I would just try to pick a name that I liked and to start writing. So it is hats off to you that you are thinking so deeply about even naming, and that's really, I'm impressed. So keep it up, carry on. I think, as I said, it's an excellent way of putting meaning in everything you write, because those things add up. Giving the name of a place, of a character, especially of your main characters, which are meaningful. Not just to you, but when your readers read it, they are able to identify and understand, okay, so this is the meaning of, this is the character, and this reflects some personality or some things that they are doing or about to do. Finding names is not easy, and I struggle with it too. So you are not alone, especially if you are thinking of putting in a lot of thought into all of the names. It will be hard. uh, I would say that try thinking hard about the names that are really important to the story. For example, if you have a main character and if you have, say, 5 supporting characters, you do not need to think as much about the supporting characters because they are supporting. And the main character needs to be the center of attention, the focus of the story, right? The place, the anything, maybe she or he has a pet. So what do you name them? So those things need to be thought of more deeply. So that will reduce your worries a little bit about naming all of them. Then you can think of different languages that that translate the same idea, or the same say night sky. That same idea can be a different name in different languages, right? So you can, and now you have the power of the internet, so you can search for what does night sky in another language mean. So you will find, and I do that all the time, is you will find a lot of names in various languages that will be, you'll find through the searches. Not all of them you will like, but I'm sure of the 100 names that you come up with through that search, you will find at least 1 or 2 that you like. And that gives you a huge possibility, the option of names increases a lot. But do start out with with just a few names that you want to give really good thought to. And then as you become more comfortable with finding names, spread it to all of the names that you have in the book. But it is an excellent, thoughtful way of writing a story. Good job.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And yeah, actually finding a name like Harry Potter or Hermione is something that would stick to us for like decades. It's very hard. So now that is a question. That's actually all the children probably are thinking. Maybe they want to generate another Harry Potter character, and that name that strikes our mind is something now different. I mean, you have to work really hard on it. Divyanshi, after this, had a question. And Divyanshi has exam tomorrow. Yes. Sorry, you are telling something.
Yes, while we are on the names, let me add one more thing. Names are also, you brought up Harry Potter, very important. Names are also sculpted with other things other than the meaning behind the names. It is also about, how relatable it is. So for Harry Potter, for example, it is such a relatable, name that everybody, Harry is, just somebody who we could be friends with, just the boy next door, right? So that also needs to go into thinking about a name. And,
Yes.
and all the names that you have for your characters, think about it this way too, that Harry and Hermione, right? I mean, one is a big name, you still, you have to think about how to pronounce it, but Harry is easy. And the 2 names kind of play against each other, with each other, and they complement each other, right? So think about those things as well. So all of the names can't be short in a story. All of the names can't be long in a story. So that also, think about those things when you are naming your characters and your places and your things. Yes, okay, next one.
Thank you. Divyanshi?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is that I'm into the books which are mysterious and science fictional. So can you please recommend me some more books which I can actually read during my vacations?
Divyanshi is in class 6, right? So
Yes,
your
ma'am.
age is important when you're choosing the book.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, definitely. Have you, so mysterious and science fiction-y and probably fantasy and things like that?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, which are like imaginary and everything.
Right. So have you read a series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket?
No, ma'am.
Try that. That is the very good book. If you have read Harry Potter, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I think you might like this. This is a little, it starts off at an easier level than Harry Potter, but but it's very intelligent, very clever set of books, and it's a series of 13 books. And yeah, I think you will enjoy it immensely. If you are into fantasy, one of the very good series that is out there, but you might want to wait, or you might want to ask your parents about permission, because they will be aware of how much you are allowed and how much you are able to, of the subject you are allowed to, get into. But have you read of Percy Jackson?
No,
And
ma'am.
that's a fantastic book, and I think that's based on, that's a young boy who who discovers that he is son of the gods, Greek god. So and it weaves Greek mythology into his stories and his adventures, and I think it's a very good beginning for kids. Even I enjoy it. For me to learn more about Greek mythology, that when I started them, I knew nothing, close to nothing about them, and it is very entertaining. But ask your parents.
Okay, ma'am.
But the 11, I believe you should be able to enjoy and read.
Ma'am, can you repeat the first name which you actually recommended me?
Yes, a series of unfortunate events.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
The writer's last name is Snicket, Snickett.
And of course,
Thank you, ma'am.
S G Basu's writings are there in books.
Ma'am, I
which are
checked
widely
out in
available.
Amazon already.
You checked out, of course. Then you should start reading them too.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
and I have as I said, the 5th book is coming out soon, so you don't have to wait for the next installment for too long.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
And it's like focus for the mid school, and she is perfect age for this thing to start. And anyways, talking about science fiction, we should not forget about, like, for me, when I'm talking about science fiction, the first name that comes to my mind is Jules Verne. So like that has changed, that had changed the imagination. And I mean, digging into the imaginary world was the first time I started when I started reading Jules Verne. So students, actually the children, I don't really hear about like reading those classics. So they should also probably, if you're, I don't know what do you think, but
yes, I think, because as you said, Anuja, my beginnings, a lot of our beginnings, I believe, were reading those classics, right? And we did not have Amazon back then, but we used to read our library books, and Jules Verne was huge. I mean, that's the only science fiction book you practically could find in libraries, right? And the ideas are just incredible. I mean, they still stun me, that those ideas, how the twists come, and the incredible imagination. So yes, Jules Verne, you should absolutely read. And another very, very dear name that comes to my mind, and I still immensely respect and enjoy his work, is Satyajit Ray. The Choto Galpo series, the beautiful short stories that he has in those, in the Aro Baro and Ek Dojan Goppo, and he has beautiful short stories which are amazing science fiction. And if you I had I don't have it with me here, but I had in Kolkata in my house, I had all of those 12 set short story set books, and they still amaze me to this day. And the wonderful imagination. I mean, what can I say? And I would definitely recommend read those. Those are very, very nice and very, very good.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, and actually, I also like time traveling storybooks. I actually imagine them, and I want to write also a story on them.
Yes. So time travel.
Ma'am, I have a story.
Let me look into. this, and I will send Anuja an email of recommended books on time travel when I find it. I don't have anything right off the top of my mind, but that's a very good question, because time travel is also very hard to write, very, very hard to write. And I have written 2 stories, and they are very small. The Maya book is, a 400 pages book, each of the books. And time travel books I have written is about 100 pages. They are much more harder to write than this 400 pages book. And I have done only 2. I am always scared that I'm doing something wrong, and somebody is going to put a review saying, oh, this does not work. And this does not work at all. And so it is hard. So I will find good books that I can recommend to you, and I will send Anuja an email with it. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Actually, a very good scientist can only write a very good science fiction. I think so, because that has to be also it has to be scientifically correct also. Otherwise, it becomes like just a story. But science fiction should have the essence of like teaching you science with the story as well, and invoking your imagination. So I'm sure that you're a very good engineer. That's why you can write such a good science fiction and fantasy stories.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's, you're very kind. But I think also science fiction, there is just since it, we are on the topic, science fiction is not just about the science though. We are used to thinking, and we are, when we start out, we think science, it has to have a very strong aspect of science. But science fiction by definition is, shows you what the effect of science could be. It could be a completely social story, a social narrative, and that a lot of good science fiction stories are that, it tells us how society could change because of one small change in the environment, right? And it doesn't have to be, understanding is very important. Understanding of science and understanding of how those changes can affect us is absolutely important, like you said. But at the same time, it doesn't always have to depict every scientific change or every scientific truth that's, or every scientific equipment that they're using. So there is social science fiction, there is hard science fiction, which is every word has to be perfectly correct. And it has to be, what should I say? It has to be technologically viable. But all science fiction is not like that, though. So if somebody is afraid of writing science fiction, thinking, oh, I have to be, very good at science and I have to get this just right. It's not. There are other. Science fiction umbrella is big, so you can start writing on the side that you are comfortable with, where you don't have to delve too much into the scientific aspects if you are not wanting to go that side. But if you are, great. That is core science fiction. Hard science fiction is how it got started. So yes.
True. That's true. So I rectify myself.
No, you are right. But there is also another side that,
True. That's true. Now, one talking about time travel, like not the writing, but the movie, actually, Steven Spielberg's movie. Those are actually some of the very good time travel movies we have seen when we were young. So those are not in book format, but those kind of movies are also probably very good to watch, to know about how the plot of the science fiction stories to build, kind of like that.
I have a story on science fiction.
Who is that?
So sorry, time travel.
Who is that? Dimira, you can turn on your video. Please turn on your video, because once it seems like the ghost is speaking.
A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline Leanger.
Yes, Wrinkle in Time is good. Yes, it's a great book.
And it is like now probably a movie, motion picture also. But don't see the movie before. That is what I always tell my children, that don't see the movie before. Always read the book before. Because when you see the movie, your whole perception is to match the book with the movie. But it should be the other hand, that you should write the original story first. So that is something
Excuse
we
me,
should do.
ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Arjahi, yes, Arjahi, you have a question.
I love to read horror, mysterious, this kind of stories. So can you recommend some storybooks of mysterious or horror stories? Books? Ma'am, you are muted, ma'am.
There you go. Thank you very much. So yes, I will add that to the list that I am going to send Anuja. Horror, mystery, and then I have time travel books. I'm going to write it down.
I don't really know what genre these books are, but I like stories like Nancy Clancy and the Faraway Tree.
Oh, those are well, those are a mix of, you could call them historical fiction, because it has a lot of historical connections, right? So they find out things, but it is also, I believe, I am not, my daughter reads them. I haven't read any
Enid
of them,
Blyton,
to be very honest with
this
you.
wishing tree and wishing chair, wishing chair and faraway tree. Those are very popular among children, actually.
Oh, so
Enid
I'm
Blyton.
the other historical fiction book. So I take my word back. So it's not historical.
Nancy Clancy is by Jane O'Connor.
Okay.
Yeah, but Nancy Clancy, I think, is not a fiction or the science fiction or fantasy stories. It's just like narrating a girl and her dreams and so on. It is, yeah, but I think when you're talking about...
Ma'am, you're muted again.
When you're talking about science fiction, then Enid Blyton is someone one can read, actually, try to read. And David Williams also. There are actually David Williams books also.
I also
like Ice Monster and all these things.
Buckingham Palace.
So after this, Preeti, you had some questions, Preeti?
Yes, Sam. Yes, ma'am. I have a question that first of all, I have read a story of Jules Verne, and the name of the story is The Journey to the Center of the Earth. And my question is, ma'am, in which age you have started writing the fictional story?
At which age I started writing the
story?
Oh, I started writing when I was I was 30 something. I was 32, 33, I believe, when I started writing the first time. Yes, it's about that. Yeah. And before that, I used to write, short stories, maybe just for my own entertainment. And I wrote some for the school magazines, as I'm sure all of you do. Growing up, we wrote in school magazines, and that was quite pretty much it. And but I thought of a bigger story, of a novel sized story when I was I was about 32, I believe, when I started. And at that point, I actually knew nothing about writing. I had never known of, I had read plenty, but I had never paid particular attention to how plots are supposed to go, or how storylines are supposed to come together, how story structures are supposed to be. And I started paying attention once I decided to write, because then I was looking at the craft side of it. And then I started to teach myself, going to workshops, reading and finding out about things that make a story work. And yes, so that's
And
that's
one more is, according to you, which is your best science fiction story which you have read?
which, mine or overall?
Yes,
In
yes, sure.
my
Actually,
own?
that might be very difficult because all of the writings are her mastermind. So, like her brainchild, I would say. So,
Yeah, well, as I said, the Maya books, these books I really love, because she is, the girl is the first. She is the first one I wrote about, and her journey is very special. She's almost like a child to me. Very dear to me, and the other one that I like, and you might be able to read this, is this book that I wrote, the Eternity Prophecy. And this got an award from Amazon, and was selected to be published by them in a contest that I entered. And this book is very special to me also, and eventually I would like to expand on it and make it bigger. It was not a short story, but a novella, shorter than a novel. This is very much social science fiction. It is a place, it is a planet where I question the systems, the belief systems, and how the society is laid out. And it's all about that. And it is very interesting to me. It was very interesting to me to write it, because I was inspired to write this from a book that has been my all-time favorite of all science fiction that I've ever read, that is Dune. I think you have heard about it. A movie came out just a few days ago. And Dune is by Frank Herbert. It is a social science fiction, and often said as, the big starting point for all of the science fiction common things that we see in all famous science fiction, like Star Wars, inspired by Dune. Star Trek, sort of inspired by, everything has their roots or part of something in that book. And it is also a very timely movie for us, because it talks about the ecological impact of things, of how things can be created or destroyed, how a planet can be destroyed or created, saved. So very, very important book for me. And I was inspired by that, by the style in that book, to write this one. This has nothing to do with ecology, but it has similar, I would like to think, something, it mirrors a bit of Frank Herbert's Dune. So that is my second favorite, I think, of all the things I've written.
but you must have like some very happening inspiration to start writing at the age of 30. I'm sure that you, the short story you have written before that, you didn't probably publish, or I published, I don't know, but those would have been also equally acceptable and acclaimed. But there must be some very big inspiration actually to start writing, and not only just writing, not only just one book. It's like after that series of books, you haven't stopped writing. So it's a great motivation actually for people like us who do not know how to write. We think so, but maybe everyone has a writer inside them, and once it comes out in front, when you yourself understand that I can do it and say I'm doing it, then you don't really stop writing. And it is like that enthusiasm. So where did you actually get? Is any special story behind? I don't want to dig into the personal thing, but there should be like
No, there
very
is absolutely nothing very personal about it. But well, I'll go into a little bit of personal. So my father always used to tell me, you should write books. You should write. You should write. Every time we met and we had like this conversation, heart to heart, and he would end with, "You should write. You have this skill. Why are you not doing anything with it. And I would always go, like all daughters do, where do I have the time? You know, do you see me, you know, having a lot of time to write? And this would go on. So this is at the back of my mind that I could. And as much as I would tell my father that I don't have the time, it would work in the back of my mind that yes, maybe if I tried, I could write a story. But that, as you know, all of us, we have our lives, we have our jobs, and we have everything that's going on, studies, and all those things. And sitting down and writing is not easy. It is not something that you just just do. So one day you have to have a lot of time set aside for it. You have to have a lot of discipline to keep at it. So I never got that far. I did one short story or two, and then, as you said, you are right, I'd never published it, or even thought of publishing it, or even thought of showing it to anyone who would critique me or tell me what is right, what is wrong. One day this was one winter day, and I was driving to work, and I was going downhill and uphill. Roads around Washington, D.C. have a lot of ups and downs. So I was driving, and this sun is very low in winter. It strikes in early morning, it can strike right in your eyes, you know, and it's just blinds you. And I went to work being blinded half of the way. And it's very hard to drive when you are, sun is glaring in your face and your eyes, and you can't see. You are almost sure you're going to crash into the next car. It's a very stressful drive. I was very angry at the sun, and I was very, very angry. I was, and I went to work. I came back, and in winter, we have very short days. So by the time I was driving back, the sun was gone, and it was only 5 o'clock in the evening, and it was dark. And again, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to drive in this, then there was back-to-back traffic, and very hard to go back home. And then suddenly it hit me that, the sun, I was angry at it in the morning. Almost I was telling it, disappear from my life. I don't be here, and let me drive in peace. And now that it's gone, I suddenly realized how important it is for it to be there. And I suddenly thought, what if, what would happen to us if one day my wish had, God forbid, but, it had come true and the sun had gone? And what would happen to us, all these humans left on earth with no light, no sun, and, what would be the consequence? So without giving much of the book away, for those of you who might want to read it, that is the core of the story of the Maya, the Lightbound Saga books, is a threat to the sun of a system. The star of the system might be gone, and then what happens? I mean, what is the consequence, and can you stop it? Can you not make it happen? What is going on? Why is it going to die? And all that. So that was the starting point. And I wrote, I kept thinking about it for weeks, and then I wrote a few scenes, and I thought of a few characters, and I wrote a few scenes just to enjoy it. And I found that I loved writing, and I loved seeing those characters come to life, and I just enjoyed the process. It was another thing, however, to keep writing and make that into a book, because the scenes I'm talking about were 2 pages, 3 pages each. And that to a 400-page took a lot of work, and took a lot of reminding myself that I can do it, I have to do it, because I started this project, I better finish it. And at that time I was, I was working as an engineer and driving in that sunlight every day in the morning and without the sun in the evening. So it was hard work sticking to it, but yes, that was the inspiration. And I remember another thing now. There was another thing that spurred me into action was I used to watch this. I will not name the show, but I used to watch this show. It was a children's animation show. I really loved it, and I was following this. I love animation, and I love cartoons, and also till now. And this story, I wanted it to go one way, with the characters. That's what I was hoping for, that these characters, this is how they will end up. At the end, in the last few episodes, things totally switched around, and whatever I was hoping for did not happen. So I was very annoyed. I was so annoyed. I didn't see, I came to know of what was going to happen from the internet. And there were these all fandoms and all sorts of, people talking about the shows, right? So you get to know if you want to know. So I got to know. I got really annoyed. I didn't watch the last episodes, and I haven't, to date, I haven't watched that show again. And I decided, okay, if I cannot get a show that pleases me from somebody else, I will write my own book and I will have my ending. So that is another, and something else that drove me to finishing that first book. And I wrote it, and once people started loving it, well, I have to finish it, right? No matter how long it takes and how hard it is, I have to. And I have to see them. They have come so far. I have to see Maya reach her goals. So yeah, so that's how it all started.
Yes, ma'am, I want to say something.
Wonderful to know. Yes, Preeti?
Yes, ma'am, I want to say that I have seen a movie called E.T.
Sorry, could not hear you properly.
E.T. I have seen a movie called E.T.
E.T. Okay, yes.
Story.
I okay. For your age or this generation, I don't know who have seen, but when no one in our generation have not seen E.T. I don't know anyone like that. Yes, E.T. is something.
Alien.
Yes.
Alien. It is an alien.
It's an alien. Yes, E.T. is an alien. And what is the full form of E.T. You know?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why it is called E.T.?
I used to know it, but I forgot.
We didn't used to know. Okay. Maybe you can go back and look what is that. Extraterrestrial. What is terrestrial? Extraterrestrial. So that is a good, probably a point of thinking a name. So we don't say we don't name him as an alien. We call him as E.T. So E.T. is something like a short form, but that name has become so popular. E.T. Like
Out
that.
of our territory.
That's what our author is also telling you, that you have to think about the name, which will keep in your mind for a long time. It will resonate your mind, inside your mind, probably, when you're thinking about it. Yes. So anyone else, our students, children, anyone else? Some of them actually did log out, maybe because of the poor internet connection. Ankita was raising hand for a long time, but I don't see her now. Maybe she logged out. But our children, I have sent you their writings also. So some of our children, like I asked them, like, if you want to write something in short story, I gave like 300-400 words. Some of them did stick to it, some of them could not because they had to build up the story or something. But I didn't tell them back that you just shorten it, let their imagination flow or something like that, I thought. But so what do you think? Have you taken a look at their writing?
Yes, absolutely. I have taken a look. It was.
So we have the children who have written their stories are here. Among them, Dimira Mukherjee is here. Dimira is the youngest who have written the story. She is in class 3 in age 9. And then we have Rituja. I can see Rituja here, who has written the story. She has written, actually, I read her story. It's Rituja, you can hear us. Is it it's your original story, right? That you have written?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is something like I was horrified when I was
Ma'am, can you hear
reading the
me?
story. So yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I was
Yeah.
muted for
So
so
she
long.
is. Oh, okay. Sorry. So you are in class 7, right, Rituja?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So she is 13 years old. So we have the age spread from 9 years to 13 years. So when the older children, actually, they are very much busy with the exams and so on. So have not come up with the writings at this with this short period of time. I give them like 1 week that you can come up with some kind of writing. So, but for like 12
Ma'am,
years old, 13 years old,
ma'am, I wrote
if you
a poem.
who is the wrote a poem?
Adrija.
Oh,
Drija.
Drija, yes. So we will definitely listen to your poem also.
Okay, ma'am.
So
I
what
am
do you
perfect.
think about their writing? Actually, I can go one by one. Ankita is here now. Ankita,
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
here now. Yeah. So you wanted to first of all ask some questions to
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So what is
Uh,
that?
Ma'am, my question was that, like, who inspired you for writing, who inspired you for writing stories?
That was my question too.
No, we have digged into the question actually, and she has answered some of it already.
Well, I can say I can go over it again, but I do not want to take your time too much because I know the children have exams. But I will just keep it very short. Yes, I mean it is as I mentioned before when I spoke about it. It's I always had the love of writing, and then my dad used to say all the time, write. So that was there, and then a few things, a situation that I came into made me start writing a first one page of it, and then from there it kind of snowballed. I found out that I'm enjoying the process of writing, and then I kept on doing it, and that's how it has been.
Thank you. So Ankita, you got it? You got your answer?
Thank you.
Yeah. So coming back to the children's writing that I have sent you. So if you have any comments on that, they would be really helpful for them, because
Sure.
that would really be helpful to improve their writing skills.
Sure, absolutely. So I had 4 writings, and it was, thank you very much for sharing your writing with me. And I know, and it is something that writers of all ages and all experience, and no matter how long they have been writing, struggle with, is sharing their work with with the world.
Right.
It is not easy because it's writing is something that comes from inside you. It's a part of you that you are putting down on paper. It's your thoughts, it's your innermost beliefs and ideas that you are showing to everyone, and that is by itself is not a very easy thing to do. Not everybody can do it. So just the fact that you have come forward and shared these with everyone and with me is an incredibly brave and an awesome step to take. And I hope you keep this going and don't be afraid of showing your work to anyone who might offer you feedback, critique, and help to grow your skills further. Because that's where we often stop, and we stop being brave, we stop being open to criticism or feedback or reviews, and then we stop growing ourselves. So this is incredible, and I am very happy and proud to be, be able that you shared with me and be able to look at it and tell you how to get even stronger with your writing skills. So do you want me to just go one by one through that?
What do you prefer? Like they can read their stories and you can comment on that, or you want to go ahead and because no one else, actually I have not shared with the group yet, so no one else knows what they have written. So probably this is a good idea to also, if they read out their own stories.
Yes. So it's up to you. If you have time, yes, please. I mean,
not me, like the students I'm saying, but the children. So I'll call like the three of us here. The fourth one actually is not here. Dimira, I have Ankita, and I have Rituja. So can I? And actually, we will also listen to you, Adrija, because we are also eager to listen to the poem that you have written. Okay. Yeah. She has shown the thumbs up. So Dimitra, you want to read your story first, and then we will go to Ankita and then to Rituja.
Okay,
Suhana was here, but somehow I don't see her now, but maybe I can read her story and then share the video with her later on. Yes, Dimitra.
The Haunted Dream. Lily Sapling, who was a young 13-year-old, was talking to her friends on the phone.
Actually, you can go a little slow because we cannot really hear you properly. And loud and clear. That is the thing.
The Haunted Dream. Lily Sapling, who was a young 13-year-old, was talking to her friends on her phone in her room at night. It was about 12 a.m. and her parents had told her to go to sleep at 10. Lily's parents and sisters were fast asleep. Lily's friends were called Jason, Alice, and Mandy, and they had informed their parents. Lily's room was a mess, and her behavior was really bad. When she finished talking with her friends, she was very tired, so she tried to go to sleep. But when she fell asleep, she suddenly dropped from the sky. In front of her, she could see herself disobeying her parents so much, getting so many scoldings, that her parents sent Lily to the orphanage. Seeing this, Lily was petrified. But she thought, surely this isn't true. My parents could never bear to see their astounding child go to waste. They're the one who should go there. Safara, the god of dreams, heard this outrageous comment on her diligent parents and immediately made the decision to extend the dream that she was having. The story continued. In the orphanage, Lily suffered and struggled and had a change of heart. She longed for her beloved parents to one day come rushing back and care for her once again. She promised to herself that she would never mistreat anyone in her life. She also wished for a friend in the world, as all of Lily's friends had let go of her for her terrible behavior. As time went on, Lily died of loneliness in her bed, cold and shriveled. Lily woke up at 11 a.m. It was just a dream. Lily immediately hurried to her parents and hugged them. Her parents were confused but delighted to see this change in her. And Lily grew up to be Safara's devotee and a loyal person.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Dimira. So, any comment on to improve her writing?
Sure. First of all, very nice. I enjoyed your story, and it's a timeless tale of it's a morals in it, and it is very good for children to read, and you learn immediately of the consequences of bad behavior, of disobedience, of and the rewards that you can get when you are doing what you are supposed to do, have responsibility and do
For
things
some
right.
reason, it turned like I thought it sounded like Scrooge, like the A Christmas Carol.
That's fine. That's fine. But it's a so okay. So let me take a step back. So we read a lot of stories, right? We read a lot of stories. We watch a lot of movies. We are constantly looking at things around us, and we don't get our ideas to write from, it just doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from our experiences, from the things that we read and write and see and keep on seeing. So Scrooge is an inspiration. It's something that you have made your own. So this is what we call an inspiration to your writing, which is
No, ma'am, I realized it sounded like the Christmas Carol after I wrote it.
yes, that's fine. You don't always realize when you're writing it, but when you are sometimes it hits you even after you have left it, you have written it, kept it away. 1 year later you read it, and then you suddenly realize, oh, this sounds like that thing. But that's perfectly fine. Inspirations are normal, it's natural. What we do not want to do is copy an idea and call it your own. That is not done. But sounded like Scrooge, it's like that experience Scrooge had. Yes, but you made it something that you or your friends or anybody might go through this, right? So this is an experience that goes across. It just doesn't happen to Scrooge. It can happen to anybody who has been misbehaving. Anybody who comes to realize that they have been misbehaving. So this is a universal theme. That's what I'm trying to say is it's a universal theme, and there's nothing wrong if it sounds like something else or feels like something else, or it's it's inspired by something else. If you are unhappy with the inspiration or it feeling like something else that you can identify with immediately, then you can always go back and make it even more original, add more personality to Lily, to her friends, to her parents, and to her situation, and make it even more original and even more your own. And that's what you do as a writer. It might, and this is just the first draft. The first draft is never the perfect draft. You have to go back, you have to work on it, and you have to keep on working until you are reasonably, and I use the word reasonably because you are never happy with your writing. You go back a year later and you think, oh my goodness, how could I write that? But you don't keep on writing, changing your writing all the time. But once you are reasonably happy, you let it rest. You don't change it anymore. But until you are at that point, you try to improve it, try to change it, try to make it more your style, your voice, your feelings than the inspiration. So that's fine. I thought it was a great mix of how you moved from the reality to the dream and back, telling us the morals and coming back. What I really wanted from this story, and I know you were limited by a number of words, but it would be great if you could go back and elaborate on what disobedience, what behavior she was showing. We know that she's not listening. She's up past her bedtime. We know she's a mess. But what is that mess? Show us her room, right? Show us what is going on in her room compared to what is going on, say, in her siblings' room or in her friends' rooms. Her friends' room might be like very tidy. They tidy up, they clean up. Her room is, things are everywhere. So show us that. When she goes to the orphanage, show us her hardships. Show us how badly she misses her family and her life that she had before. Take us through those hardships so that we can feel for her. While she is going through the pains, we feel her pain. When she comes back, again, show us, maybe she woke up, she immediately cleaned up her room. She tidied everything, and then she goes and she never says hello or good morning to her parents, and she goes and says, can I help you make breakfast, or can I help you with something? Show us the change. So at every step of the way, whenever you are saying that this happened, show us a little bit of it and try it with, say, 2 sentences at a time. Add 2 sentences, see if you want to add more, and then, you know, see how that improves the story, makes it more, makes us relate more to the child, to Lily. That I think will really strengthen your story.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Dimira. I think like you got a very fair idea like how to improve your writing, to think properly and how to build on it. And after that we have Ankita. Ankita also wrote like a short story. It was a moral story. But Ankita, if you want to read fast, actually we are already like 1 hour past, almost 1.5 hours we are continuing. And the children also have school tomorrow, so they are continuously writing me that, ma'am, can I read the story after this? Ankita, you can hear me? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I've written a story on a clever rabbit and a tiger. Once upon a time, a clever rabbit and a tiger lived in a jungle with some of his friends. The animals and the rabbit had a secret place where they every day used to meet and play and had the lunch together at afternoon. One day at afternoon, all the friends joined the lunch except one. They all thought that he had some reasons due to which he couldn't attend the lunch. Again, on the next day, similarly, the 2 animals didn't join the lunch. He thought that again they had some reasons. Similarly, day after day, the rabbit's friends were not coming to attend the lunch. The rabbit was very sad seeing this. The clever rabbit thought that something must have happened in the jungle due to which his friends were not attending the lunch. So he went outside to see what had happened. There he saw a tiger. As soon as the rabbit's friends were coming out, the tiger hunted them day after day. The rabbit had an idea. He told the tiger that he had a challenge for him. If he could accept this challenge, then he will eat all the animals, including the clever rabbit, without any restrictions. The tiger told that, okay, say the challenge what I had. The rabbit told that you have to jump off the well without falling into the well, without any decision. The tiger accepted the challenge. As soon as the tiger jumped off, he fell into the well. Suddenly, he started drowning. He was asking help me, and was shouting. But nobody came to help him. This is how, after some time, the tiger died by drowning, and all the animals were happy to get and aware of getting harm. Thank you.
Thanks, Ankita.
Thank you. Very nice. Very nice. It is a short story, but a very, very timeless ideas and timeless morals. Again, you know, the cleverness of the rabbit, how he thinks on his feet, and how he cares for his friends, and how the tiger should have thought before doing what he did. All that. So it is very nice, and I think you had these are timeless ideas that are around you, and you took them, made your own, which is and put it into your own story, and I really like that. Yes. So one thing that I would like you to think of is, again, I know you were limited for this project by the number of words, but one thing I would like you to think of is, you know, you give us a little more detail. Go back to your story and give us a little more detail on every step, especially the steps that are building up the story, and the steps that are, the places where you resolve the story. So those are, and the climax, of course. So those are the three places where we need to know the most, and we need to be with the animals, be with the rabbit, and fear for the rabbit, and cheer with the rabbit, and hope that the rabbit is successful in protecting his friends. So when you have when you see the animals missing, one day after another, slow down there a little bit and tell us how the rabbit felt a little bit. So was he sad? Was he afraid? Was he thinking that something is going to happen to him too? So show us those steps, and immediately you will find that whoever is reading the story will be drawn in even closer to the rabbit, to the fears and the worries that he has. And when the rabbit eventually wins, we will be cheering even more for the rabbit. Also, when you talk about, when you show us the climax, stop there a little bit and think exactly, what is being said between the tiger and the rabbit. Is the tiger angry at the rabbit? At that, how could this little rabbit, he knows nothing about anything. I am such a strong tiger, a big, and I'm eating them. And how dare this rabbit come and challenge me? I mean, I will win. I will win, of course. I mean, I will growl and this thing will faint and die, right? I mean, those are the things that we would love to know about what is going on through the tiger's head. What is going on through the rabbit's head? Is he really scared? Oh my goodness, he's facing this huge, humongous tiger and looking at this tiger who could slap him and he would die, right? But it shows that action, that he's facing the tiger for his friends, courage. If you show us more at that stage, then we feel for him more, we cheer for him more. That brave dear little rabbit, so how much he is caring about his friends, that he can face up to that big tiger. Also, when the tiger jumps, show us the plan of the rabbit. The well, is it broken? Is it so old and broken down that the rabbit knows that the moment the tiger goes up there, either he's not going to think or he's going to fall because the well is going to break. The rabbit might also want to be there and show that it's safe. Okay, it's safe. You can do it. I can do it. You can do it. The way that we challenge somebody who we want to be drawn into something, and we know that we can do it, but can they? And they are fooled into. They are basically being tricked into going onto the well and trying this, thinking that this is nothing. I will get all the animals in the end. I will eat you, rabbit, and I will eat all of your friends too. And I can just do it in my sleep. But of course, the rabbit is clever. So show us his cleverness a little bit. Maybe, you can show it before you can show him making the plan, or you can tell us after too. That is your choice as a writer, depending on how much you want to hold on to the mystery, to the tension, to the suspense, but show us how clever he is. And I think that way you can improve the story a lot. But it's a great story. I enjoyed it. And go rabbit. Very good.
Thank you. Thanks, Ankita. Thanks for being here. And yeah, you wanted to leave because you have exam tomorrow. So that is fine. And I would now like to actually, this is not story, but Adrija is waiting for a long time for reading her poem. Adrija?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
she has already requested me for a long time that I didn't write a story, but I have written a poem. Please, can I read? I have an exam tomorrow. I said, yes. Sure, Adrija? Yes?
Okay, ma'am. Can I start?
Yes.
The rose is red in color like our own lip. They are so beautiful that the pure butterfly eat nectar from the rose. But everybody must be careful because they have prickles. If somebody touches the prickles, they will hurt their hands. So everybody must remember not to touch those thorns. We should not cut those roses. We all love roses because of its beauty. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrija. Adrija is in class 3.
Very nice.
She
Beautiful. Yes.
yeah.
Anuja.
Yeah. Thank you, Adrija. That was wonderful.
Yes.
And
I think the idea was very nice about the rose and the thorns and the beauty and what might be behind the beauty and the risks. And that's a great poem. It's beautiful. I think it's very nice. Keep working on it.
yeah, Adrija is a multi-talented. I mean, she is very good in math. She is very good in drawing. She is very good in speech. She does a very good job in all the programs that we do, and all the time she is very enthusiastic about attending all the things and focusing. She is very focused. That's I have seen, and very calm and quiet. Has a lot of like goodness in her. I mean, everyone has, but she's like really, and also her thing is like she always wears. Today I don't see it. A hairband. It is very novel hairband she always wears, and I can see 2 ears, sometimes two prickly things, and it's very nice to see her all the time. Thank you, Adrija.
Thank you very much for sharing that poem. And I have to add, you are very persistent and also very brave that you kept, you had to read your poem, and I love it that you shared it with us, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, she is very much like that. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
thank you.
And good luck.
And next we have Rituja. Rituja has written a quite longer story, actually. But she's waiting for a long time to read her story. It's a little bit, I found it's a horror story. It's for like, but I liked it actually. So do you want Rituja to read the story, or do you want yourself to read it?
Yes, ma'am.
Rituja, okay, Rituja, yeah, fine. Go ahead.
Ma'am, so the name of the story is The Symbol of the Black Skull. The girl of the priest and priestess was born with a birthmark on her wrist. It wasn't any ordinary. It was the color of the darkest of the dead of night, and in the shape of a lifeless, prominent human skull. People said that poison flowed through her veins, and that she was the vessel of a demon. They wanted to burn her the night she was born. But her parents agreed to none. They swore to protect her and absconded from the village, far away to a ruining temple at the very edge of it. 16 years passed by, all while the girl never stepped out of the temple's walls. But she never felt alone because she started worshipping her birthmark for a reason that no one knew, not even her parents. 3 years it had been since she had started a ritual that she vowed to complete, for which she locked herself in a room which had nothing but just a mirror. It was the night of her 17th birthday that it finally came to an end in which she had sacrificed her mother and father for her destiny. People found their corpses in that rooms months later, lying mercilessly in front of the mirror which they gifted their daughter themselves as a symbol of love for her. But the daughter wasn't anywhere, neither dead nor living, as people say. Many believe that this is just a tale, but some still believe that it did happen. I really do. My name is Ania and I love traveling. I always did. It's my passion, and the best part is to write about my experiences later. The strangest of my experiences is one of which I think doesn't even exist. Strange, isn't it? But when I did experience it, it does exist. I was 19 then and traveled alone. This time I thought I'd be exploring somewhere that no one knows about. a waterfall in a village in Jharkhand with caves and all those things that excited me so much. But when I finally reached there, due to not much proper mapping of that place, I was lost. After searching for hours, I came across a hotel which looked more like an ancient temple. It was made up out of stones and covered with creepers and dust. Bright moonlight shone upon a small wooden plate on which the words "Rooms Available" was engraved. I walked up to the great wooden door and knocked. It opened, and there stood a very wrinkled man, which looked just as old as the building. I walked in, and the inside was same as the out, just without the creepers. "Go find the room," said the man, giving me an annoying look at me. "Do you live here?" I asked. "Yes, he's my son. Yes, with my son," he said, lying on the cold floor. "He's the owner of this." He was falling asleep. I turned to go inside, but then he called out, "Do not go to that room. That locked one," he pointed. I agreed, but wondering why, I went upstairs and found a room to stay for the night. It was dusty and had two large bookshelves filled with old and rotting books. A big cupboard was beside a bed, which looked a bit better, and I laid down on it. The next morning, I came downstairs and saw the old man and another young man sitting on the floor eating rotis. The other man must be the son, I thought, and he looked at me with the same look as his father, annoyingly. He handed me a plate of food and said, "The room you lived in last night is mine." I felt irritated. "I wasn't told anything about it," I said. "Did you open the door of the cupboard?" he asked me. "What kind of a question is that? Why would I?" I said, feeling more frustrated. I stayed at the hotel for the day, lying in the bed of another room which was just beside the previous one. Strangely, all I wondered about was about the story about the drawer of the other room and the room which was locked. Surprisingly, too, the old man and his son weren't in the hotel for the whole day I stayed. I got up, walked up to that room, and did what I really wanted to at the moment: opened the first drawer of the cupboard. It had numerous big keys inside. That was it, nothing else. I picked up a big bunch and sat in the bed, wondering what doors they might open. After a while, I put them in my pocket and went to my room again. But it was night when I woke up after a long nap. I rubbed my eyes and went downstairs to see if they had returned yet, just to find that cold, empty hall. I decided to come upstairs again. Just then, my eyes caught attention of that locked room.
I think she got disconnected. Yeah, maybe when she joins, she can read the rest of the
It
story. But
opened.
yeah,
I pushed the door inside and stepped in. I heard a very shrill enchanting of words I couldn't make out. It was neither of a girl or a boy. I was feeling dizzy all of a sudden. The room was lit only by a faint lantern, and resting in front was something rectangular and very large, covered with a white cloth. I don't know how I gathered the courage. I walked behind the object to look who said those words. What I saw in the next second was something I couldn't believe. I fainted just the next second. There was a very enormous part of the room behind. Painted on the back wall was the gigantic symbol of the black skull, and encircling a red fire with blistering flames were sitting several people. The daughter of the priest and priestess who enchanted these horrific words, the old man and his son, and the other two were the priest and the priestess. And lying beside him were four corpses covered in blood, the priest and the priestesses, and the old man and his sons. I opened my eyes and was shivering and shocked. There were at least 10 people staring at me as I sat up in a bed. Who are you? Why am I here? I asked them. "She's alive. She's not dead," someone cried out from the crowd. "Are you all right?" said a small woman. "We found you lying on the ground on the edge of the village fences, unconscious. What happened with you? I was at the hotel. It looked like a temple, and an old man and his son were in there. I said, as my voice was surprisingly trembling. You were at that hotel? How did you get in? An old man opened the door, and I stayed there for a night. I said, "What on earth is she saying?" She shouted and looking astounded. The old man and his son had bought the temple just 3 years after the incidents of the cursed girl and turned it into a hotel. They have been dead for 30 years now, but their bodies couldn't be found in the whole village. No one knows why. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that was a little long story, but
Was it within 400 words?
yeah, it is a little longer story. It is not 400 words, but Rituja had written it so nicely. I didn't tell her to shorten it because the whole story would have gone a little bit different if we shorten it a little bit.
Very nice.
But
Yeah, for sharing this. I'm sorry, Ankit. Anuja, did you want to say something?
no, we wanted to hear you.
Okay. Yes, I think this is the most excellent piece. I mean, I loved it. It's horror, and it's wonderful. I think it's very original, and I think you have two things that I really liked reading this was, first of all, you have the beginnings of a voice. Voice meaning your own, the something that identifies you as a writer from any other writer when anybody reads your book. So you pick up a book, you without knowing who has written it. If a writer is really good, you should be able to identify who is it that you are reading. That is a voice, and the voice, it's very hard to attain. It is something that writers struggle with for a long time to find, and it is something that has to be developed, has to be worked at, and once you discover it, you have achieved something. That never goes away from you. And I see the beginnings of a voice here. You have it is more than just writing. You are starting to find yourself here in this story, and I can see it, which is great. At your age, if you keep at it, this can be very good, incredible. I also like that you have tried something different here, as in switching from third-person narrative to a first-person narrative, which is also very good for a writer your age to be experimenting and trying to switch between those things. It's not something that that even experienced writers always do, that we switch, but you have done it very nicely, and keep experimenting with that. You will find out that in the more you do it, the more you'll find out what works for one way of storytelling, what doesn't work for one way of storytelling, what is the best perspective or a best point of view to stick to for one kind of story. So all of those that you are trying out shows that you are interested, and you are grasping the nuances of storytelling, which is really laudable at your age. I'm very happy that you shared it, and you did a great job. So kudos. Only one thing that I wanted to another thing that not one thing, I told you a lot of things already, but another thing I would like you to think about is, again, as I said for the other stories also, and I know you are limited by the number of words, but get deeper into the characters, get to understanding what drove them to doing what they're doing, and what is it that that happened. It doesn't have to be scientific understanding or an explanation, but what I'm trying to say is why the priestess's daughter, the priest and priestess's daughter, she is sacrificed them, and she's there. She probably sacrificed the owner and his son. Why is it that the narrator, Anya, why did she escape? I mean, what is special about her that she was not harmed? We don't know that. And it's okay if you don't want to tell us everything and you want to keep some mystery, but give us some clue that, oh, we go, at the end of the story, we go, oh, so this is what, helped her survive. This is why she didn't die. She escaped. It could be something, the way she is built herself, maybe she has something extra superhuman in her that is helping her escape. It might be that somebody came and found out about her, that she was trapped in that room right at the time and she got lucky or something. Tell us something that shows us or leaves us with questions, but not as many questions as we don't know. I mean, give us something more that satisfies us to some extent and leaves us puzzled also. For mystery stories and horror stories, you have to leave
I
us.
have not thought of a very strong reason for this, but I have thought of a reason that she did not have the symbol of the skull in her wrist. So all the people who were sitting in they're encircling the fire had that symbol on their wrist. Where the priest and priestess were actually uh, preaching something. They were teaching them something. Okay, so now because she was the first person in the world who had at the first that black symbol on her wrist. So the Anya, when she first went there, she did not have that symbol. So when she first goes to that room, uh, she was without that symbol. So that thing did not work on her. So girl of the priest and priestess couldn't kill her. So she was left outside of the village and she was completely unharmed.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that
So
was the
that's
reason.
okay. That was the reason. That is great. That is great. But then I like that. You have to put a bit of it on the story, in the story itself. So that way we know. You don't have to explain like you explained to me, because that might take the suspense away totally. And you don't want that in horrors and mysteries. You want more of a hold on to more of the suspense, right? But maybe when you are describing the story, you just say, she noticed they had when she was coming across the ghosts of the man and the son, maybe you make her wonder, oh, they have a symbol of the skull on their wrists. What is that? She may not know of the story of the priestess and their deaths and the daughter's story, right? But she might notice and wonder, what was that symbol? That is a strange symbol. Does everybody in this place have it, or something like that? So that way we have a clue of what might happen or what might have happened to those two people. So yes, I mean, great. You are thinking of stories and thinking of the logic behind the plot is very important. So that is where I was. That is the whole point of my bringing this up, is think through the logic of what happened. You have to. It doesn't have to be proven in a court of law, but it has to be, when you read a book, even for just to pass time, you have to come away with an understanding of the logic behind the story. Oh, so this happened, and this happened, even in a suspense story or a mystery story. So keep an eye on that. But I think you have great skills, and keep it up. And I really enjoyed your story. And you have, as I said, the point of views, play with those, and you will learn more as you play with those. And read whenever you read stories. I think that goes for. I'll step back now, and I will ask you, did you have any more questions before I go to the next thing that I wanted to say to everyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay,
So that
great
was
job.
very elaborate explanation. Thank you. And Rituja definitely now have more idea about what how she did and what to improve, if anything to improve. And she got really motivated, I am sure, with your words to carry on with her writing. We're almost like 10 o'clock and children have, and we are holding you for last 2 hours. So
No,
I
no,
think,
no problem at
and
all.
but the children actually are very enthusiastic. Actually, they have. I didn't really see that we are almost 2 hours here. So thanks a lot. Actually, we have come up with a very sudden. I have come up with a very sudden request from Arjahi that she got really motivated, and she started writing at the very just now she has finished. Have you finished, Arjahi, your story? She said, I'm writing the story. I want to read the story in the end. I said, yes. Okay, I definitely should allow you, because you're so enthusiastic that you have completed a story in the middle of the meeting. So
Absolutely.
that is absolutely appreciative. Arjahi.
And while you were, we let her finish, and then I want to say a couple more words for everybody here, whoever is thinking of writing, not necessarily professionally, but for your own satisfaction, for enjoyment. We read all the time, right? We read the books, and I used to read a lot of books growing up, and I'm sure all of you do, But before I started writing, I never paid attention to how a story is crafted. So something to think about, not the first time you read a book, first time just enjoy it, enjoy the flow. But if possible, go back to a book that you really like, and then think of what made that book so much of a joy, a pleasure to read to you. So that way you will know what parts of the book really appeal to you, how the author did those parts so that it appealed to you. And those are the things that you need to learn and put in your own writing, in your own way, that these are the things. This is how I'll sustain tension. This is how I'll introduce my characters. This is how I'll lay out the story. Very important thing to do. So pick up a book that you really loved, study it as a not just as the story itself, but how it was done as a craft. And that, I think, will really help you get your skills improved.
Sure. Thanks a lot. And that was like, it's something like wise man's advice kind of thing. I mean, directly from someone who has written so many books and so popular. So I'm sure, Rituja, you got the idea of like how to improve and how to build up your next series, right? Yeah, and that's for everyone who has written here, even the poems actually. It's a similar kind of thing. I mean, maybe like they have a popular, something they do like actually, the poems, and they can go back and see that what has made those more enjoyable reading. Thank you. Ajahi, can I go back to you now? And
Yes,
the thing is, so you are finished?
Yes, ma'am, I have finished.
Okay, that's wonderful. So can we hear you?
It's kind of long and it's a horror story.
Okay, it's kind of long. So, okay. So may I request you to, can I send first to ma'am, like SG ma'am, and then when she gets back with her comments, maybe I can post it in the group. And in the meantime, maybe because we are actually almost 10, we can hear a song from you. Is that okay? Or do you want to stick to the story?
I think stick to the story.
Okay. She will not leave until we hear.
Don't worry about me. It's the children have tests tomorrow, so that's what I'm worried about. But if she wants to, yeah, I am fine.
Yeah, please. Then please go. Yes, sure. We can start.
Noting me element. Okay, so it's a
We can't hear.
Haunted hotel. Huh? One day, Lily
Haunted
and
hotel.
Nova were seeing movie. Suddenly, Nova had an idea and said, Lily, I have a great idea. Lily said, really? How did you get an idea middle of a movie? Then Noah said, as we are watching Haunted Hotel in the movie, let's do it in real life. She said, excited. Then Lily said, we can do it. We can do it, but it's safe, right? Noah said, yeah, it's safe, but tell me, are you going or not? Then Lily said, okay, we will go tomorrow, but where? We are going to Australia tomorrow at 7:30, Noah said to Lily. Lily said, but I didn't tell my parents yet. Lily started panicking. Noah said, calm down, Lily. I have already said your parents. And guess what? They said yes. Lily said, thank God you said. I was really very panicked. Next morning, Lily said to Noah, Noah, get up. It's 6 o'clock at the morning. Noah said sleepily, for what should I get up? Lily said, for the haunted hotel. You forgot the plane landed at 9:30 a.m. at Australia. Noah and Lily said, very good place. When they reached the haunted hotel, Noah said, it's kind of creepy. Lily said, yeah. And they went to the haunted hotel. After few time, Lily started shouted and said, a spider wave. Noah said, it's getting even creepier, Lily said. Noah said angrily, now you're getting scared. You said it was okay to go. Noah said, Lily said, okay, God. Suddenly Noah saw one white lady with creepy eyes with a candle. Lily, what is that? Lily said, dump, that's a ghost. Run. You have to run out of nowhere. When they ran left, they see it again. From all of the sides, they see a ghost. They were trapped from all of the sides. After few hours, they wake up and they found themselves in a room. It was trapped with 5 spider webs and 2 spiders. Lily and Noah. It's kind of creepy. And the story ended.
In a short time, you have written quite a long story. That is good.
Yes, excellent. That is great. I mean, you wrote it in 1 hour, and very good. I love it. I love that you wanted to write it so much, and that's passion. That's very good. That's excellent. And I'm glad you read the story, and I could hear it. And hearing it from you is far more enjoyable than reading it. Reading it is another experience, but hearing you read it, your story that you wrote in 1 hour, is something else. It's very, I'm happy. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
As I said to everybody, go. It is an excellent story. I think you have, it is incredible that you brought, you have a structure of a story already in this short time. Good structure. I think you have, you built it up, you got them to the climax, and you have things going on, seeing the ghosts, and then you have the end, which is you leave us there, they're trapped, and that's classic horror story, it's great. We don't know what is going to happen to them, and leaving them there is very good. That's a very good ending. I will say it just like I've said everybody else, go back to it and think of where you could add more details. Think of, where you could just, maybe you can describe the hotel a little bit more, bring up the creepiness factor, show that, if they are in a middle of nowhere or in the middle of a forest, or this the things are falling apart and then they still go in, and make us feel scared even more. I'm scared of spiders, you got me there, but I need you or other people who are not scared of spiders. A lot of people I know are not. I don't know how they do it, but they are not.
I
But
don't have a yeah.
I am very scared of spiders, and nowhere in my mind it came to write about spiders.
I
know
don't have arachnophobia. I don't have arachnophobia.
Yes. So
No,
you
ma'am,
have.
I am the very scared of spiders whenever it comes.
Yes.
For
So-
some reason, I feel like I'm the only one who is not.
Yes, but there are a lot of people who I know who are not scared of spiders, which is strange. I don't know how, but they are not. So make them scared. So that way, what you have to do then is get in a lot of creepiness factor, right? Other things that might scare them. Like maybe they're scared of going somewhere where there is nobody else around. And these, this is a single house standing, and they come and go in there. So that scares them. So bring up the scare factor a little bit.
What
When
did
they,
the,
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
I have a question in the story. What did the spiders do?
Okay, can I tell it?
they eat people.
So that's a very good point. You keep writing, Ajahi. Make it bigger and bigger, longer and longer, and then share it with us so that everyone can read. So I think actually each and everyone who has written, there was another story also I shared, but she's not here. So I skipped that for now because already.
Anuja,
Yeah.
Anuja, please give chance to Arjahi to reply Adrija. Arjahi,
Yes, ma'am.
Adrija asked you one question. You please reply her.
Yes. So, of Adrija's answer, I will write, they will bite them.
What? No.
Are they tarantulas?
Yes.
Are they like big? Are they like very vast? I mean, are they very like huge?
Are they like tarantulas, which like if you are scared, they'll like shoot you with a web or something?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Like it will shoot
Those are
Um,
all
spider webs to trap them more. To trap them more. The spiders will shoot the spider webs.
We had a spider expert here who joined in the front, but she left actually.
It's like Spider-Man in its original form.
It's kind of Spider-Man. Like
It's like Spider-Man in its like the spider that bit him.
yes.
yes.
What did the,
You
That's
can
a
write
long spider discussion.
then what did the friends do after when they were shooting, like when the spider was shooting the friends?
They were trapped. They were trapped for long over there.
And then what happened?
I will write and share with you.
You can maybe like Lily got trapped in all of the webs.
That is very good. One thing I wanted to actually also just say that from now on, I will open the group for all of you to comment. So if someone wants to, but no forwarded message or anything. So until now, what we were doing, we're maintaining WhatsApp groups where I used to post like the program events and other important things there. But the students or the children were not allowed to kind of comment. It was only for the admins. But now we have decided, because the children are so interactive, so they should interact with themselves also. So from now on, I will open the group for all the children also, so that you can write and interact within yourself. That will also build up your strength in communication, as well as will bring your friendship closer. But one thing is, you should not post any forwarded message or anything personal thing there. It's only for the related scientific discussions that we are doing. Okay. So that is something that gives you an opportunity, Arjahi, to post your story there. And also at the same time, when your friends read your story, they can comment and they can also come up with their ideas, which they can share themselves, and you can talk in there. Okay.
Ma'am, I will start writing a story from tomorrow.
Very good, very good. So see, this is why we do it, because now everyone wants to write story.
Ma'am, can I share my story that I was seeing in the group?
Which story? Yes, you can share story, but don't share anything like everything there. That is my point. But it was a thank you. Thanks for the nice interactive session. You have brought the writers from the children. All of them now want to be writer. So that's really great. Thanks a lot for such an interactive and fruitful session. I'm sure. So the children have to say, you have interacted with Pam sir for such a long time. How do you feel? How do you like it?
Very extremely.
All of you have to tell. All of you have to tell. You have been asking questions. You have been holding her, asking questions for last 2 hours. So why don't you tell?
Extremely.
It is excellent. And what happened is that
Very excellent.
continuing.
It appears because it's 10 o'clock on Sunday and Monday they have school. They have not eaten their dinner. They are still waiting here for you to hear.
Mainly, we
So
don't have
that's wonderful.
classes on Sunday. We only have
And another thing, Anuja, can we ask our children to give vote of thanks in one sentence?
Sure. That actually from now on, children should take their responsibilities. I'm giving all my responsibilities. I'm retiring. So, so children, so any of you?
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay, sure.
What happened to me was I was writing my story on Word and then my computer shut down. So now all of my progress is lost.
Oh, okay. You can restart. Restarting is something that will make it much better.
Your ma will help you to take it back. Sure.
No, ma'am. Is that like I was continuing on an auto-saved one? So I didn't get saved.
Okay.
It can be saved, Simera. It can be saved. We can talk about it. I can give you instructions. I want to say some. Yes, sure. So as Rita ma'am said, we want to end today's session. And we definitely want SG ma'am to come back again with us.
Alphabetical order and do it.
Okay.
Alphabetically order. So Demira, you take the charge. You tell the name one by one after another. First Audrija maybe, or Audrija first maybe. So you call one name and everybody will say thank you to ma'am in her word and express her joy and gratitude and everything. Okay.
Ma'am, I didn't understand.
You have to.
Yeah, so vote of thanks means when you say thank you for thank you to let's say like SG ma'am here. So we want to hear in your own language, how do you say thank you? Like thank you, like for what, like this way. You liked this session, isn't it, Audrija?
Yes, ma'am.
Because of ma'am, na?
Because of what? So you can just say one line. So one line, you express your love, your gratitude, your enjoyment for this session, and for what? You just say one sentence.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for telling how to write a story.
That's nice and precise. Thank you, Audrija. And after that, who? Dimira, you have been given charge. You cannot sit idle. Dimira, after that, Aryahi. Dimira.
I'm spotlighting. Who will go next?
You don't have to spotlight. You can tell the name. You can call the name.
He is a technician.
Thank you.
Also.
Yeah, she's technician first, but then everyone is waiting for a technical detail. Okay, thank you, Aryahi.
Aryahi, say.
Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Anybody's name.
Aryahi, you say thank you to ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for how to write a story, teaching all of us to how to write a story and recommends in storybooks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajahi.
Welcome.
And Demira.
Thank you, ma'am, for helping me improve my writing. I think your tips will help very much. And for a while, I had stopped writing, so now I think I'll start again.
This is a positive thing, very positive.
That's good. Thank you.
Wait,
And after that, we have who?
I can't spotlight them because
It's fine. You don't have to spotlight. I think Rituja, if you are here, yes, of course you will say, but it will go in the alphabetical order.
Ma'am,
Rituja?
ma'am, can I leave because tomorrow I have an exam?
Sure, Adrija. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye, ma'am.
Yes, Rituja. So you have anything to say? I mean, thanks in your own language.
And interesting too. And it would very helpful to improve my writing skills. And the story too.
Thank you. Thanks. And now Preeti, who is eagerly waiting. Sorry, Preeti, you are the last one.
No, it is not okay. So thank you, ma'am, for this beautiful session. And I now know that how to write a story, and it improve my writing skill. And not only to you, all the team members of this club that has organized this program. It's very nice.
Thank you. Thank. And next time I want your writing, okay? You
Yes,
are very
ma'am.
enthusiastic and you are very intelligent. So we want you to also write your stories and share with us. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chaturupa, for being this excellent session. We have hold you for such a long time.
No, I can't express in words. I should be expressing in words, right? But I can't.
Actually, we haven't heard your stories. That is the thing. All the children were started to discuss about, but that's the whole point of it. But actually, we want you back. Maybe whenever your convenient time is, sometime in future also, when you have to read stories to our children, so that they can also know that your writing and how they can improve their writing from listening to your writing.
Yes, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. And anytime I'm, you know me and you know where I am and how to contact me. Now we have a lot of things, we know how to get in touch with each other. So anytime, and it's a pleasure, absolute pleasure that to be here. Thank you for having me. And I am so glad that the children are enjoying it so much. I don't want to hold them any longer, but it is a joy to see the enthusiasm and the excitement. And if I can do anything to keep that excitement going, please let me know. And it will.
And I thank Rita ma'am for organizing this, and she came up with the name of yours, that we want to do a readathon with someone I know is very talented and very acclaimed. And then we started organizing this, and it came out to be a really good success. And thanks again to Rita ma'am for this. Rita Di.
Rita Di is always
yeah, she is the force behind all the motivation that we have. Actually, the children all the time, whenever she's not joining, they ask like, where is Rita ma'am? So that is important. She is the most important
I'm
part.
really very sorry. Today I had one marriage ceremony, my students, so I have to go. I didn't say it purposely to you. If you feel bad, I arranged and I am not joining in proper time. So that is why I told only the Aryahi and Mo that you two please manage. and they manage very nicely.
Yes, Modi answer. Actually, I have to thank Modi also. She made it a very good starting, actually.
I really thank to Anuja and Mo and all my angel children. I love all these children. You know how I love, I can't say. All these children are so
Yeah, they are very,
sweet.
very enthusiastic.
I can tell that they are being nurtured very wonderfully, and I can see the excitement I see is they have a very nice environment where they can express themselves, which is not easy to make, and I applaud you for that, for creating that environment. And it was, I did miss you in the beginning, but it was wonderful to see Mo again. So, that was great, because
After
I have
long days. That's true.
Yeah.
10 years, I think. So it was.
And Anuja, do you know Mo and Shatarupa, they are classmates?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard. My computer was running errand, and then I was hearing their conversation. Two friends, long time back, separated, and now they have seen each other. And I heard some of their conversation. It was wonderful to hear. And I think some of the children also, when they grow up, when they meet online or even offline, they will also be in the same mood that, okay, I mean, we spend so much time together at some point of time, and we are here again. So
And Anuja, thank you very much. Thank you to you too. You were always, any questions I had, and I had a lot of questions. I like to.
No, that was no. I am glad that I could help you, and actually we helped ourselves by answering those questions, and the children enjoyed, and that is the whole point of it. And I hope that you have also had a nice time. It's your lunch time and it's our dinner time. So everybody, Nidita, they have already had her dinner. She came back from the marriage ceremony. So I will not hold on you also, and the children who are probably starving now. So we will meet again very soon, and I will announce in the group. And as I said, I will open the group for you to interact. But please do not interact too much that I have to close it again. So have to be in like the way that it's more like a discussion that we do that way. Don't make it a chatting WhatsApp group. So that is the thing. But you are growing bigger. That's why I have the confidence that I should actually open it for the children.
Can we will there be like specific days, like this person is this day, this
No,
person?
no, there will be no specific, but as I said, it's not a chatting WhatsApp group. So you will understand. I will keep teaching you. I will keep commenting that this is not right, that is not right. That's what teachers do, right? It's like, don't do this, don't do that. It's kind of thing.
And
but it is.
And this session will be in Facebook and YouTube. And we
are recording it, so everyone will know. Actually, we will post it in, and I will Shatrupa, I will send you the link
I couldn't
so that
record
you can have it for
I
your record also.
started recording and then you started recording, so
no, it's fine, no problem.